This is part 3, unfulfilled desire and the shadow self. So let's talk about Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head, idolized by so many yet understood by so few. Pyramid Head is the side of James that is always with him, which of course James is trying to deny, yet he's forced to confront Pyramid Head over and over. Pyramid Head represents the primary aspect of James' shadow self. So there's a freebie there if you're following along at home, trying to figure out which character fits which archetype. I've given you one for free. Well, actually, there's 2 for free that you should know. The id, or shadow self, is an integral part of conscious desires. It feeds them, right? It's primary. The conscious desires, of course, are driven both by the unconscious and the subconscious mind. Pyramid Head represents masculine desire unfulfilled. And what can happen to masculine desire unfulfilled? In the case of Pyramid Head, it takes what it desires over and over in an attempt to fill a bottomless abyss. But the abyss can never be filled. Think of Pyramid Head as the guy who seemingly always gets the girl. He could be driving around in a Camaro. Okay, maybe not. He should have a Camaro, though. That'd be kind of funny. Pyramid Head has any girl he wants. At least the women whom are as tortured or more so than he, and yet dwells in his own empty pit of despair, which can never be fulfilled, right? He's forcefully taking Pyramid Head. He's seen doing this in the previous scene, right? Pyramid Head is disconnected from his higher self. He dwells exclusively in the bestial realm, the lower self, which is nothing wrong with the lower self, but integration with the higher self and the lower self is what James is going to need to do in order to break free of Pyramid Head. So no matter how much Pyramid Head's base desires are met, it's never going to be enough. This is a great quote from Stephen King in the book The Shining. This is taken from The Shining. Sometimes human places create inhuman monsters. This is James Sunderland's monster, right? Pyramid Head is, of course, the bestial lower self aspect of James. Pyramid Head is the darkest and seemingly most powerful aspect of James Sunderland's shadow self. The struggle James has with Pyramid Head is a combination of guilt and repressed feelings of sexual desire. James continues to run from his monster, and yet it persists to appear before him again and again. Will James figure out what he has to do? Only through great struggle. This is a quote from Robert Frost. The only way out is through. So that through, for any of us, and for James, is struggle, right? And pain. It is the perpetuation of this bestial desire which leads to suffering in the first place. Pyramid Head is caught in a vicious cycle, as it were. The most powerful instinct in the human animal, after all, is survival. Nothing is more connected to survival than the propagation of the species, hence sexual desire. Nature created a reward system with sex in order to ensure this survival. Now, Pyramid Head as a monster lacks a human face because he represents the animal instincts in man, or the animal instincts personified in a man, which drive this unfulfilled desire. The head of Pyramid Head, that rolls off the tongue nicely. Pyramid Head. So his head, his head is trapped in a prison, right? This implies that while Pyramid Head is indeed of human origin, his head, or higher self, has been imprisoned by the lower self, or animal instincts. So it's the bestial desire that's ruling the higher self. This is a not a good place to be. The word persona or person, we get the word person from persona. A persona refers to the ancient masks worn by actors around the time of the Roman Empire. The actor's persona or mask had a mouthpiece fashioned to it which amplified the actor's voice for the audience. Pyramid Head has no face. He has no way of... There's no humanity there. So he's not wearing a persona as in a mask. He lacks a persona. He lacks a real mask, right? And of course, the word persona, per means through, and sona means sound. So through sound. This is the projected mask. This is what you project for your audience. Your audience could be people at work, people at school, people in your family, whatever it is. Your persona is your face to the outside world. So sometimes you have to ask yourself, what kind of persona or mask do you present to the world? Are you presenting a mask at all? We all do in some respect. While Pyramid Head lacks any real persona in the most human sense, it seems as if he is a person of some sort, right? Or at least we attribute Pyramid Head with being more than just one of the regular monsters. He's certainly elevated above the regular monsters, of course. There's some humanity going on there. And yet the ambiguity created by his lack of a face is quite compelling for a monster. Ambiguity for anything, any kind of melding of two things or more in a monster's, especially if you added human element to a monster, it makes the monster even more frightening. Pyramid Head is also wearing what appears to be a butcher's apron and gloves, right? And he's clearly, in my mind, he resembles an executioner with his face covered. So that's another way to look at it. And is it not the executioner who suffers most long after the condemned have been long dead and buried? The bloodstains on his apron and knife appear to be both old and new, both crimson and rust, as it were. And I'm leaving a clue here when I say this, which I will reveal this later on in the presentation. So the pyramid itself is actually the tip of an obelisk, otherwise known as a pyramidion. While the archetypal symbol of the pyramid is a masculine phallic symbol, the inverse of this symbol would be the open portion of the triangle, which represents the feminine, or it's a yonic symbol. If the pyramid is a phallic symbol, the inverse of that would be a yonic symbol. So in a very real sense, Pyramid Head's unchained bestial desire has him trapped in a self-imposed prison of the feminine. In a sense, Pyramid Head could be nicknamed Vagina Head. We got to see if we can, let's see if that'll catch on. Pyramid Head / Vagina Head. Okay, so this part of the presentation, we're going to look at Jay. This part of the presentation, we're going to go deep into the feminine aspect, or the feminine playing with the masculine energy. So it's under the mask of fiction that you can tell the truth. This is a quote from the Chinese author Zhao Jingjian. Hey, I did my best there. So Pyramid Head seems just as intriguing to women as he is with men, and probably more so. But why? A Google image search for Pyramid Head reveals dozens of female depictions. Pyramid Head cosplay seems particularly popular with females. If Pyramid Head is a rapist, such as he is depicted in Silent Hill 2, why would these women emulate such a monster? It is, after all, the same reason why so many women have admitted to rape fantasies. Yeah, think about that. So what exactly is going on here, and why have we gone down this rabbit hole here, or why are we going down this rabbit hole of the feminine and the rape fantasy? Well, I'll explain. take a look at this image here. What do you see happening? Okay, you see a woman pointing a shotgun at another woman, right? So on the left here, well, there's a lot more going on here. This is, when I found this image, I was just like, wow, this is a treasure. On the left, we have a woman that is strong and comfortable in her masculine energy. On the right, we see a woman that is strong in her feminine energy. Each are switching gender roles, as it were, right? In a sense. But it's deeper than that. The proportion of masculine versus feminine energy in any one person can vary greatly. And it can vary throughout the day. But your core energy is typically going to be one or the other. There are a select few people that have equal amounts of both, but it's very rare. Usually that energy, like all energy, fluctuates, right? We don't consciously decide upon what our core energy is for the most part. It just is the way it is, and that's okay. Most of us have a predominant masculine or feminine energy as our core essence, but we may also possess fair amounts of the other energy. So we see this woman here on the left is comfortable and strong in her masculine, and the woman on the right is comfortable in her feminine, and also playing with this masculine energy. So women are more tuned in emotionally and energetically, typically, than men are, right? So it's easier for them to play with this energy polarity than men. So just as the masculine is drawn to the feminine, the same is true the other way around. This concept of polarity, or the opposites attract, right? You've probably heard about this. This is the energetic glue of the universe. Women are drawn to a strong masculine energy, even in the imbalanced state of a pyramid head character. And I should clarify that. The women that are drawn to a strong masculine energy in the form of pyramid head are themselves in some sort of state of imbalance, or some sort of state where they are drawn to parts of pyramid head, aspects of pyramid head, but maybe not the whole thing, right? Which is natural. This attraction to a strong masculine comes from the feminine heart's desire for true love and the intensely passionate ravishment that comes out of this love, right? This is the feminine heart's desire. Ravishment unfulfilled, so seeking this feminine heart's desire, but if it's unfulfilled, then a lack of this passionate love in the feminine heart can be just as harmful or detrimental as it is to the masculine heart that is lacking the feminine love. So, we both need each other in these ways. So this lack or shifting away from love could lead down a dark and twisted path. Eventually, it may lead to extremes for women, including rape fantasies. Now, I want to talk about, briefly, I just want to talk about gay or lesbian relationships, for example. There's always a dominant and a submissive in all of those types of relationships. That energy dynamic is still there. You can't escape it. One partner is more dominant, one is more submissive. That's just how it goes. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with men and women. It has nothing to do with the gender. It has everything to do with just the energy, your core energy polarity, right? So let's talk about this ravishment, or this feminine love unfulfilled, and what it can lead to. So this brings us to Silent Hill's archetype of the unfulfilled feminine, right? And this isn't an archetype of the 7 in our story per se, although the nurse does fulfill one of the archetypes. This unfulfilled feminine is a little deeper of an archetype, right? It's not so much of a human archetype as you could say it's a universal archetype as well. If Pyramid Head plays the role of the unfulfilled masculine, then the nurse plays this role for the unfulfilled feminine energy. So just like Pyramid Head, the nurse has no real face, right? She has no persona of her own. She is blind, swinging away wildly without care. Her sexuality is the most vibrant part of her, even in this death state that she's in, right? This zombie-like state. Almost as if this desire for fulfillment is so powerful in the feminine that it carries on despite everything else. So no matter what, that feminine heart's desire is still carrying on. No matter how dark and twisted a path it goes down, it still wants what it wants. So what happens to the feminine unfulfilled? That longing that is left to wither on the vine often turns from ravishment to rape fantasy, sexual domination, or other such areas. The feminine unfulfilled in our society, so the feminine heart not being filled with masculine love. And when I say masculine, I don't mean a man. It could be from a woman. There's plenty of women that have a masculine core energy that are with another woman of a core feminine energy, and vice versa, and everything in between. So don't get confused here what I'm talking about. So this feminine unfulfilled in our society reads romance novels, right? Is strangely drawn to sexual assault stories in the news. Is obsessed with 50 Shades of Grey. The 50 Shades of Grey is like, with women, it's it was huge. It still is pretty huge, right? So these themes on TV shows and in TV shows and movies, this attracts women that are not fulfilled. The women that are fulfilled, or the men that are fulfilled, anyone with a feminine heart. Some men have just, there's men with a feminine hearts, feminine core energy. This feminine core energy needs to seek this type of fulfillment and love and ravishment in some way. And if it doesn't get it, then it looks for it in any way it can. Right? You've heard that song, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So shortly after, pretty heady stuff, huh? You guys okay? How you guys doing? So shortly after his second run-in with old Triangle Face, James is introduced to Eddie. Eddie is a young Slavic teenager with a self-loathing way about him. Eddie represents the side of James that despises himself and compensates for this by blaming others. Initially, this isn't Eddie's behavior, but as the story progresses, Eddie starts to lash out at others, because when you don't value yourself, you don't value others, right? Like Angela and Pyramid Head, Eddie is another unique manifestation of James' shadow self, only this time representing something entirely different that James needs to resolve within himself. We will learn more about Eddie later on in the story.